Comics Are Dope is brought to you by the greatest shop in the world, my LCS, Fight or Flight Comics. And no, I'm not biased at all. They have a great selection of everything from new weekly comics to back issues, rare variants and statues and collectibles. They've got all sorts of stuff. And if you really want to follow what's going on, you got to follow them on Instagram. That way you can see when they get new collections in, when their latest signing or in-store events are, and what's in stock. So check out Fight or Flight Comics in Raleigh, North Carolina in the Triangle Town Center Mall and tell them BJ Kicks sent you. Now, let's start the show. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope, the podcast. I am your host, BJ Kicks, and today we got a special one. This one, we are opening up the interview vault. Back in the fall of 2024, I conducted an interview with wife, podcaster, mom, comic writer, marketer extraordinaire, Miss Karla Medrano, who you may know online as Moon the Storyteller. And somehow this interview was lost to time, but I thought this was the perfect time to bring it back. Now, in the weeks and months since we recorded this episode, Karla has released a comic book marketing course and coaching program. And just last night, she announced a brand new comic publishing imprint that she is launching called Black Girl Comics. And so there's a lot to discuss in a follow-up conversation, but I wanted you to get this introduction to Moon the Storyteller. And the conversation starts with a simple question. How are you today?
I'm good. It's nice having, I got my guys in the other room. I had a good day at work. It wasn't 100 degrees outside. It's like 60 degrees. So I can say I'm ending the day on a good note, peaceful note, and then now talking to you. So I had a good day. I'm
Awesome.
doing good.
Awesome. So not to jump straight into it, but I'll save it. So for those in our audience, right, who may not be familiar with who you are, maybe a brief introduction. I really am curious about sort of what got you into comics and into writing.
So writing, I've always have written. It started with my love of reading. I've always loved to read. I am a true nerd. I love books. And so that just naturally progressed into writing. So I think as early as probably middle school, I started writing short stories and poetry. And I never shared them with anyone.
Right.
Probably will never share them with anyone. And then life happened, go to college, you get married, have a child. So writing didn't come back into my life until around Black Panther, when Black Panther was adapted.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved superhero movies. I always connected to superheroes. Those were my favorite, type of movies. But when Chadwick Boseman's performance actually inspired me to pick up my pen again and write. Mm-hmm. And I wrote what would eventually turn into Luna. I started writing the story because it was a character. I wouldn't call her a character, but there was this figure in my subconscious that will always pop up in my dreams. And I knew she was just trying to talk to me and tell me something. So once I started writing about her, I stopped dreaming about her. And so that story eventually turned into Luna. But I would say probably around 2018 was the year that I was like, okay, I'm going to start writing again.
Got you. Okay. So your love of writing stemmed from your love of reading. What were some of your favorite things to read when you were younger?
Well, my earliest memories was when I was in preschool. My mother enrolled me in the Fraggle Rock book club. So I was a Fraggle Rock girl. I had the best collection on the block. And then later, like the Babysitters Club, Nancy Drew. And then in high school, I didn't read anything because it was we had to read, so I didn't
Right.
read anything outside of school.
Hmm.
But I always kind of geared towards Charlotte Bronte, Jane Austen kind of things. And as I got older, just like really quick reads,
Hmm.
I can't really think of an author that I really gravitated to, but like I would just go to the library, pick up the new release and just, read it. Um, but I didn't actually pick up my first comic book until around 2018. That's when I was like, let me dive into Wakanda and see what's going on, in this world. So, yeah, that's a little bit about but the kind of things that I like to read.
Nice, nice. I feel like uh, I finally have someone in my corner, right? So usually I'm the newbie, and technically I still am, right? You started reading comics around 2018. I got into comics in 2019.
Mm.
Um,
Oh,
I was
wow, that's surprising. I'm surprised.
it's, most people are, but I trying to figure out why I even got into comics. Basically, we were looking for like more wholesome options on TV, and that threw me back into like DC animation. So all the stuff I grew up on, Batman, Justice League, and all that, and then a ton of other shows I didn't know existed. I think Young Justice was the one that I watched the most. Like, oh, who are all these characters? And then
Mhm.
that led me. I bought the DC Universe subscription, and they had comics in the app. And so at that point, I was aware that like people still made comics and you could buy them and stuff. Um, but what got me into it was my oldest daughter. She's an artist, and so I had been seeing these ads for Free Comic Book Day, and at my LCS, they were doing this whole big thing. They had rented out a separate storefront. They had artists coming, and so you could go meet an artist, get a commission, all sorts of stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll take her so she can see like you can have a career in art, and maybe she'll figure out what she wants to do or whatever. And so we went to Free Comic Book Day. I picked up some free comics and then stayed connected with the shop on social media, won more free comics, and that ended up with me ultimately getting a subscription to the House of X and Powers of 10. And then that was it. I've been a Wednesday Warrior ever since. But yeah, super late in life for me as well.
Oh, yeah. And that's okay. Thank you for, I've been calling it House of X and Power of X. Because that's what I'm reading. I just ordered the omnibus from
Hmm.
Amazon. So I've been calling that. But thank you for clarifying how to say it.
No problem. Problem. See,
But it makes sense. Powers of 10, it makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, because the whole thing is like they go in the powers of 10, you fast forward 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years into the future. So those are like
Mhm.
the powers of 10. But yeah, most of us just call it Hox Pox. but
Okay.
but yeah, so that was my introduction. But Black Panther the film meant a lot to me as well. I mean, I'm in a big family. We got a lot of kids in our family between all the siblings. I got a lot of nieces and nephews. And so we saw Into the Spider-Verse, we saw Black Panther, we saw all the Marvel movies before I was ever reading comics. And Black Panther, you're right, just hit different.
Mhm.
Like, um, and even to this day, he's one of my favorite characters in comics now. It's like the more I read, the more I go back and look at the stuff that inspired the film, the more I'm like, that's my dude, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so I feel like to see a film and then be like, all right, now I'm gonna write that. I mean, you obviously have been exercising that muscle for a while, but when I look at Luna, you've got this fully fleshed out cast of characters. There's a full world that she's in. Like, I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't sound disparaging to other people, but it doesn't sound or doesn't feel like the work of a first time comic writer. Um, and so were you like, had you been just tinkering with these ideas for a while? I know you said Luna sort of came to you in your dreams, um, but where were you practicing these writing chops, or was it just you just had it in you?
Definitely. Well, all praise and glory to God. He gives
Mm,
us the gifts that we have, and it's really up to us to, release them and utilize them. So with that being said, like I said, I love to write, and I create stories in my head. So I could have like 5 scenes going on in my head at one time, and then I'll just brain dump them and close up my journal and put it away. And as far as Luna, I had done YouTube videos about the heroes art, watched YouTube videos and read, like I invested money into actual books on how to write a story. So I wouldn't say I had it in me, but I definitely had the story within me. But I did have to um, research and learn how to put all those ideas into a cohesive story that was engaging and utilized various plot tools and character development. And so I would say it was a combination of, a lot of things to put. And then I had the help of a publisher, Concrete Comics, because I think shortly after I finished issue 1, I signed with Concrete Comics. So having them in my corner and mentoring me too, kind of how comic books work, they're a lot different than novels, and short stories. Comic books are a little different, and there are certain things that have to go into each issue to keep readers coming back. And then you have a really great artist too.
Yeah.
The artwork is, I would say, 50% of the story. So all of those things kind of came together for me, and I was able to create something that was worthy of people's attention and time. So with a lot of help, but first and foremost, God is the number one reason why Luna has been received so well.
Absolutely. And so as you were going through some of these resources, whether it's YouTube or books, what do you feel like were some of the most valuable to you as far as helping you to understand how to structure your story or bring things to life?
Mm-hmm. I'm actually looking at the book now. It's by Ross Hartman, and it's called The Structure of Story. So in that book, he talks about different plot tools that you can use. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was this idea of basing your characters on themes. And that's something that you don't really see a whole lot in the comic book world. However, when you think about some of our favorite characters, you do see that. So like when I think of loyalty, I think of Captain America. When you think of love, you think of, they don't really have love in the Marvel universe, but you just think of a character that represents love. And then you have these themes of forgiveness and trauma, revenge. You can probably think of a character that represents those things very well. So, and that is the key, I feel, one of the keys to make a really good story resonate with your reader, because when people see Luna, when people see Zoe and Kira, these characters in my story, they're like, I really relate to this character because it reminds me of something very familiar. And that what that familiar is those feelings and those worldviews and those themes. So that was really something that I got from that book. And then you can also, and another thing that really helped me was understanding that there's always a duality in your stories. There's what you call the dramatic question, which is, will Luna save the day? And then you have the actual underlying theme, which is more of a deeper question. And that question, sometimes it is not really articulated, and it may not ever be expressly stated, but it's still something that is you can feel it, and it's palpate, it pulses out throughout the whole story. So in the case of Luna, the dramatic question is, will she be able to save her her dying Earth?
Right.
But then the underlying themes are, what happens when you disturb a woman's peace? What happens when you come for her kingdom? What happens when you learn to forgive? What happens when you try to navigate your trauma in an unhealthy way. So those are the underlying themes, and those are expressed through the various characters. So that book really helped me understand how layered a really great story is, and why Black Panther was one of the best comic book adaptations we've ever seen, and why it, was in the category of Best Picture. Because those story tools, not a lot of people, and I'm saying comic book art writers, not a lot of them understand that, which is why some of them may not do as well as they would hope. But in that situation, I would just hope that, people continue to try to just learn. You don't know everything. Continue to learn your craft and get better at your craft. Because there's a book I'm reading now about how to, by Dr. Sheena Howard, about how to market yourself better. So that you just always constantly want to keep learning, so you can get better and better at what you do and what you love.
For sure. No, that's great advice as well. So I want to get into Luna a little bit. So Luna, Queen of Mahru is your comic. Now this comic has had a life. It was on Instagram. You was kind of done it as like a web comic. You put an issue out yourself, and then now it's under the Concrete banner of titles, which is awesome because Concrete, a lot of times when, we're looking for Black independent success stories, Concrete is right there at the top of the list. They just recently secured direct market distribution. Like I just got Acolyte #6. I picked it up in my shop last week, right? Like, so, but I want to first just talk about like what the story is. And I want to kind of talk about how we got to where we are as far as your distribution and how you made the decision that you made as far as keeping the business of Luna alive. But let's start for the audience. Let's just start with, who is Luna? What's this story about?
So Luna's story takes place in our future. So humans have migrated to other parts of the universe, and the heroes that we love and know are gone. But this particular part of the universe, we have what we would call superheroes, and they're called energy keepers. So they harness the energy of the universe, and they're actually were tasked to protect the health and balance of the universe. And some have chosen to do that, and others have used that power for their own benefit, which is where we come into the anti-heroes and villains of the story. So it's a futuristic tale. If you like Storm, if you like X-Men, if you like the drama, then Luna is that same genre. But it's a futuristic story about Luna. She's the queen of her planet called Mahru. And one day she's, minding her own business, and she gets a visit from a stranger from the future who tells her that actually, that's not how it goes, because I don't want to give women. Let me remember how I set it up in issue 1. She gets a visit from a stranger in the future who tells her to marry her ex-boyfriend, who she has dumped a couple of years prior because she didn't agree with the route, his life choices. I just put it like that. So she ends up. So that's what happens in issue 1. But eventually, she finds out that she is an energy keeper, and she actually is the only one that can save her world from a dying threat. So there are other energy keepers in the story, but Luna, being the center of the story, she actually is the only one with the power to save her world from this oncoming threat that's coming. So issue 1 is out, issue 2 is out, and they're both available on the website, Concrete Comics website.
Yes. And so, man, there are quite a few themes in those first 2 issues of Luna, and I want to be careful because I don't want to spoil anything. But the first thing that stuck out to me right? And maybe because I'm a dad, right? And maybe I just read fatherhood into everything. But the fact that it sort of opens with uh, Luna's parents basically explaining to her, like, you're powerful. You don't know how powerful you are, but one day you'll know, right? And we get the sense that there is someone out there that knows how powerful Luna is and is going to try to take advantage of that at some point in the future. And we kind of put a pin in that, and then we fast forward into the future. But even that, like, just the idea that this girl has something precious, but she doesn't know who she is yet. She doesn't know what she carries yet. And she's going to have to figure that out before someone else figures it out for her and decides to use it for their own selfish reasons, whatever those may be. Right. And again, probably because I'm raising a teenager, but I just see that, like, oh, snap, like, that's a great lesson to learn. But then the other thing that really sticks out to me is this sort of crisis that she finds herself in, right? Like, there's the life that she feels she's supposed to live, but that she maybe doesn't feel like it's all the way congruent with who she knows that she is up to this point. And this idea that, all right, well, here's how the kingdom should be run. And then, oh, snap, my ex is back in the picture. How is this going to go? Right. But like, just the sort of the what's good for the kingdom versus what's good for me, or are either of these things good for either scenario? Which is really awesome to me. And it's like, all right, now I'm hooked. I'm on the edge of my seat. Now I gotta wait for all these issues to come out.
Yeah. So in the second issue, hopefully some of that gets resolved for you. The third issue, we're currently the script is currently finished. My editor will be looking at it very soon. And then once the artist comes back from his honeymoon, he'll be starting on issue 3. So I'm hoping issue 3 is going to be released straight to website in 2025. And we're going to actually, now that the artist, his name is Ian Sebastian, he actually is a full-time artist now with his 2 buddies, and they have a full-time studio. So I'm actually, if all goes well, 3 and 4 should be coming out, obviously not together, but in 2025. But yeah, just wait. The issue 3, you're going to actually see Luna tap into her powers. You actually will get to see her start to scratch the surface of her powers. But of course, it's not going to be until issue 6 where you see some of what she can really truly do. And then I plan on having 2 more volumes. So in total, it's probably going to be 18 issues. 18 issues, and that's going to be her character arc. Yeah, so
Nice. Now, so on that note, right? We've talked a lot about Concrete and how they're helping to bring this story out there. The decision to publish via Concrete as opposed to continuing to self-publish, or even, like, I don't know.
So the first issue, both issues have been under the Concrete label.
Okay.
I was going to self-publish until they got a hold of me.
Got you. Okay.
And I weighed, you weigh the pros and cons of self-publishing versus going with a larger imprint, and the benefits outweigh any cons, because you are sharing the spotlight with other creators. And you do have to wait, you have to kind of wait your turn, until you're up, so, but I've learned a lot from the team at Concrete, and this definitely was something that I needed at the time, and something I need now to continue to improve on the way I approach comic book making. So I remember issue 2. When we were going through the editing processes with issue 2, I actually butted heads with Lonzo because I did not agree with removing one of the scenes. But he said in his own humble but very forward way, he was like, I know comic books. I have successfully sold X amount of comic books. And I really want you to listen to what I'm trying to tell you, because it's not about always giving the fans what they want. It's about telling a really good story. And if you tell a good story, that your fans will come back. So what that scene that was removed will be seen in issue 3.
Okay.
So yeah. So but I just wanted to kind of correct you that I've always been with the concrete label with Luna.
Got you.
Now I am going to self-publish another story that does take place in the same universe. But I'm fleshing out the characters right now, trying to really get a handle on what I truly want to say with the story. But that will be something that I self-publish. So that will be an adventure and a kind of a new thing for me.
Right. And so part of the reason for my line of questioning, right? Like I think there's always pros and cons to everything, right? And you've kind of highlighted, like, how being with concrete has been a learning experience for you, how it's been a boon for you. It's been good, right? But like, for someone who's trying to make that decision in the moment, we don't have the benefit of like, okay, well, I've got this history at this point. What was it that made you comfortable saying, yes, this is the place for me and my character?
Well, one, they didn't have a female center story. So I knew that coming onto the roster, I was going to get attention. That's number one. So you always kind of want to grab it. You always look at a new opportunity. Okay, what can this opportunity do for me? How will this opportunity serve me? Because I mean, I before because what you're doing too is when you sign with a larger entity, you are giving away a portion of your profits. But what is that a good exchange? Will the attention and the name and the credibility be worth me giving up this amount of money,
Right.
splitting profit? So it was, for me, it was, because it was 2022, 2 years I've been with concrete. So at the time I wasn't, I wasn't, didn't know nothing, didn't have a name behind, didn't have any name behind my work. So I definitely wanted the credibility. I wanted people to, and some people just, like I remember when I vended at Awesome Con, someone came up to me and was like, "Oh, that's concrete." Like they saw the concrete logo. I was like, "Oh, I'm buying it. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to buy it because I know it's going to be good."
Right.
So it was, it was like that. So that was one of the pros in working with concrete. So that was kind of that was the reasons behind my decision at that time.
Gotcha. Yeah. And like I said, it looks like it's absolutely paid off. And you're right. When I see that concrete logo, I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to be a good book. Right. Like, I don't know. There seem to be 2, 3, 4 different worlds when it comes to comic books and comic book publishing, right? Like we've got sort of the major leagues, and we've got like people that are on the indie circuit and like that are like really heavy in the conventions. We've got people that, might be online on Kickstarter, but we might not see out in the real world. And there are varying levels of quality across all 3 of those spectrum. But yeah, concrete is one of those, like, I see that logo, I see that stamp. It's like, all right, whatever this is, I'm willing to give it a shot. I know the quality of the book is going to be good, like the paper and all that. But I also know like they're going to, do right by, it's going to be a top quality artist and a good story at the very least. Right. Now, whether I agree with it or if it fits my sensibilities, that's a whole different thing. Right. But I know that it won't be because it wasn't good quality or wasn't good effort put forth in it. So definitely a good move.
Yeah.
And so since you've kind of jumped into comics, like I said, we were saying off before we started recording, you've kind of planted a flag here, right? Like you've not just writing a story. You've got other stories you're developing, but you've been doing a little bit of everything. You've got a new podcast that you started. You, if you guys, the audience, if you guys listening, if you remember, we were talking about the Epiphany Engine a couple months ago when that campaign was live. Karla did marketing for that Kickstarter campaign. So you've had your hand in a lot of different things, right? What is it about comics that you're like, I want to dive deep into this?
I'm a storyteller. I love to tell stories. I love to promote good stories. And I think comic books is one of the easiest ways you can do that. I have no idea if any of my stories will ever reach mainstream, but I know for right now, telling Luna's story is very important to me. So I will continue to create comic books because I can do that. Like, that's within my power. You can always tell your story. It may not be on the scale that you want, but you can always tell your story. So comic books is how I do that. I knew that a novel would not, I would probably not finish the novel. That's number one. But two, I felt like the art is something that needs to accompany a story like this, because you can just immerse yourself in this story of Luna, and really, like, the storytelling. So a story should give you all, heighten all of your senses. You should be able to imagine that you're, walking right alongside her. You should be able to smell, the flowers and things like that. So I think a good artist paired with a really great writer, a great artist paired with a really great writer can help people do that. So that's why, I will probably always have a comic book out at some point. And then when it comes to like Epiphany Engine is the largest, I think it's the largest crossover Black event of all time. I could be wrong, but I think it is. And so they needed someone who could take over the marketing. And so I was like, okay, I'll go. I mean, I'm going to attach my face to this project because I believe in this project, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can. And I was able to, with the help of a lot of other people, kind of direct the direction of the marketing. And of course, there were people like Mr. Illidge and Tony behind the scenes doing that higher level outreach to business owners, and Mr. Joe Illidge's contacts in Hollywood. They were doing the kind of the behind the scenes marketing, but I was the face of the social media marketing. And I think when people see me now versus 2 years ago, they know that I'm backing a quality product because my product, my Luna, is quality. So they know that, okay, she's not going to back something that is trash.
Right.
Let me see what she's talking about,
Yeah.
And so that's with that. And then voice acting, I came across an opportunity. I was like, I'm going to audition. Probably I'm not going to get it, because they always say you're probably going to go to like 60 auditions and you're not going to get nan one of them. And then you finally will get it, So I was like, I'm just going to start auditioning, and get the practice and stuff like that. I got the gig on my first try. So I was like, wow, and by no means, I don't have a very unique voice, but I think because I love the story so much, they saw, I just put my own, I just was talking, I was just myself. And they liked it. And so now I'm the voice of Tara, who plays the Earth, she's like the Earth celestial, Mother Nature. And the story is called Planetarium, and it was on Webtoon. It is on Webtoons, but now it's being moved over to Storyco. And they're gonna put music with it, with the voices to it, and really bring this comic strip alive. So I love it. I love it. I still have to kind of figure out how to use it, but like this weekend I was recording with this.
Nice.
I still don't know a whole lot about anything, but I'm just learning as I go. But I think the most important thing for creatives to understand is that you don't have to be perfect. Just tell your story. Just tell your story and then continue to improve on your storytelling skills, by investing in yourself, investing in books, reading other people's works, what you like, what you don't like, and things like that. And then just try and put yourself out there.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, everything is iterative. I mean, we're in comics, right? It's not like writing a novel where you got to write the whole thing and then put it out and people just judge it for whatever it is, right? Like you can have an issue one, and there's like, you know what? There was a problem with the pacing in this issue. You got enough time, you get feedback. Issue two can be better, right? That's kind of unique to comics in that way, in that you get multiple at bats. And then in marketing, right? Like everything's experimentation, right? Like all the good marketers do is spot trends and say, okay, will this work for me? Will it not? I don't know. Let's test it. And the best marketers test quickly. And then when something is working, they double down on it until it's not working anymore, right?
Correct.
But it's all about experimentation and just keeping the ball rolling. With that, right, like going back to Epiphany Engine, what would you say was like the biggest lesson you learned, maybe, or maybe the most surprising thing that you came across as you were helping to run that campaign?
Um, there were quite a number of surprising things. So on a positive note, I've learned that people do want to see a project like this. There are a lot of people across race, across cultures that want to see original collaborations that feature superheroes. And there's a market for that. As we've seen with Supercell, the success of Supercell, people have a yearning to see Black speculative fiction in that manner. So I was actually in the beginning, I was surprised that we had set the goal so high. I was like, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to get, $51,000. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. But once we hit 20,000, once we hit 25, once we hit 30, and we started actually putting some strategies in place behind the scenes, I was like, okay, we're gonna get this. We're gonna make our goal. And we were able to make our goal and then some. So I think that was one of the positives that it was a surprise, but it wasn't, and it speaks to when you put effort behind a project like that, if you build it, they will come. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that was one of the lessons that I learned.
Got you. Nice. Yeah, no, when I saw the goal for the campaign, I was like, oh, I don't know. I backed it. So
yeah.
But I'm glad we got it done. I'm glad that it's funded, and now I cannot wait because I backed for the hardcover, so I can't wait to get that in my hands. And so that's gonna be good. But yeah, I don't know, just the fact that funded just feels like such a feat because you're right, that is the biggest Blackest crossover ever. Like it's just it. It's like 45 publishers, like 60 some characters. Like that's unprecedented. And so I'm glad that it got done. But that brings me to, like I said, you've been doing a little bit of everything. But more recently you started the Ororo Comics Podcast. Can you talk a bit about the sort of ethos for the show, like why you guys decided to bring it out and what your goals are with it?
So a few months back, Ebony, she actually sent me a message and was like, "Oh, I love your content. Love Luna. I'm a nurse too. Didn't know you were a nurse." And we kind of started a conversation in the DMs. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, I know this is very random, but would you be open to, having conversations with me about comics and health on a podcast form, like a platform?" And she was like,
Mm,
"Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." So then I was like, "Well, how often do you want to do it?" And it just kind of, evolved from there. So so the premise is two nurses discussing the intersection of health culture and comics. So she actually she holds a PhD, and it actually is not in comic studies. It's in something entirely different.
mm,
And she had just finished up nursing school when I met her. So now will soon be passing the NCLEX. And so she will be an official licensed nurse. So it's two nurses, discussing our favorite thing. So
mm,
what makes us different is that we add the health aspect to it. Because there are a few podcasts, really great podcasts out there that blend the comics with the social commentary and culture. And, because of course we know comics is a medium
yeah.
for social commentary. And it often is reflection of, what's going on at the time. So, but we add a health piece to it, So like I think she just put we just talked about as she was studying for the NCLEX, one of her outlets was, and the NCLEX is how do you get licensed as a nurse. So one of her outlets was, she would pick up a comic and read. And she started pairing like, okay, for medical surgical, I'm going to read this, for pharmacology, I'm going to read this. And for labor and delivery, I'm going to read this. And we talked about it on the podcast. Like, okay, so if you're a labor delivery nurse, make sure you check out this comic. If you are a ER nurse, make sure you check out this comic. So we have that extra layer, like that extra health discussion that makes us different.
Mm,
And we just got nominated for 4 comic book awards. So I'm really excited about that. Um, Best collaboration, best new channel, best unknown channel, and favorite channel. So
nice.
Ororo Comics Podcast, and it's named after Ororo Monroe.
Mm,
And we are on YouTube and Spotify, and also
nice.
Instagram.
Nice. So definitely good. You guys go and vote in the CBC Awards. You can go to cbcawards.org to see the full list of nominees and vote for the Ororo Comics Podcast to win in all of their categories, because that'd be dope. So congratulations. But yeah, Brian runs a really cool show. I've not had the honor of getting a trophy myself yet, but there's always next year.
Yeah,
But
yes, yes, yes.
hopefully you guys get one this year. That'd be cool. Um, and so, yeah, you guys have hit the ground running. You're nominated for 4 comic book community awards, which is awesome. But beyond like accolades or recognition, what would you say the goal for your show is? What would you want to see in the world that's maybe isn't here now?
Um, well, I would love to be offered a partnership with one of the larger entities, of course.
Mm,
I don't think it would ever be one of those deals like the two guys, the Kelsey brothers. I don't think it's ever going to be something like that, like
right.
$100 million. But I would love to be able to do this full time.
Mm,
I love nursing, some aspects of nursing, rather. I'm not gonna say I love nursing, but I love some aspects of nursing. But who wouldn't want to, sit at their desk every day and talk about comic books,
right.
So I would love to not only do podcasting full time, but also write full
Mm,
time and get paid to create. So that's where I would really love to see, Ororo Comics Podcast goes. Luna, I would just love to get paid to create and you know and be able to pay my bills with the money I earn from being a creator. I would love to retire my husband. My husband has been working, you know, since he was in elementary school. He was born in Mexico, so he's been working all his life. Currently, he works a very Monday through Saturday schedule. I would love to retire him, you know, and us to be home together, raising our son. So those are my goals. Those are my goals. Don't know if it'll ever happen. Only God can grant me that. But I'm definitely making the decisions and putting it out there for him to bless. So
for sure. It's almost like you had my question list in your head or something, because just then you're talking about the pursuit, right? You're talking about the goal and the decisions you're making now to get to that eventual reality, right? And we had an interaction, I guess maybe about a month ago on Threads, but you posted something. I'm going to read it. It says, I love how podcasters say all you have to do is 1, 2, 3, and you can start earning real money to pay your bills. Stop. Please stop. Talk about the hyper-focused late nights, the ad spend, and the guilt you feel because you feel like you're a horrible mom for wanting something for yourself. I need to hear that. I need to know that I'm not alone. And I ended up responding because it's like that sentiment is something that even I feel, right? Like I've been doing this for, well, this show specifically for this year will be 4 years. We're almost at 4 years of Comics Are Dope. Started under a different name. But even before this, I had been a YouTuber before. And I've always had some sort of side hustle just because, I don't know, I've always been creative and I've always wanted to make money from my creations as opposed to whatever I can find out on the job market. And so, you know, over the years, it's paid off in different ways. I've had brand deals, I've had sponsorships from different types of companies, and things have kind of sort of come and gone, right? But at the end of the day, this is still a side hustle. It's still almost 10 p.m. and I'm doing this. And so it's late, it's long hours, it's late nights, it's a sacrifice. And it's not just my sacrifice, it's a sacrifice that my family makes for me to be able to continue the pursuit, right? And yeah, so when you posted that, I was like, I feel seen because it's not easy. It's not easy to sort of, neither scenario is easy, right? Like, because the alternative to what I'm doing now is I could just go to work, collect my check, and spend the rest of the time doing whatever needs to be done. You know, we got another kid on the way. We got all kinds of stuff going on. But if I don't pursue creativity in some way, like it's denying myself, right? And so it's like, well, I can't show up for them the way I would show up for them because I'm not even feeling like myself, right? But again, all the kids see is daddy's working, or there's another box of comics at the door. Where are we going to put this stuff? Like all this. So I'm curious as to how you navigate that in maybe some of the earlier stages.
So in the beginning, my husband did not understand what I was trying to do. And that was like before he saw the comic book. So like all he would see is me up late at night typing on my computer. All he would see is you know, me staying up late, sometimes even so focused on my writing that it would compromise, you know, the time that we had together, you know. So he didn't say anything. He just didn't understand it. You know, he didn't like, I don't know where this is going, but I'm not, you know, that's what you want to do. Great. But this is what changed his mind. When he saw this artwork, he was like, he was in the kitchen. I'll never forget it. He was in the kitchen washing dishes. And I think I had just got home, and I think I had just came out the shower. I had my pajamas on, And I walked out and he was like, you know, I see it now. And I said, what? What do you see? He said, I see where this could go. And so now that was 2022. Now he prays for the comic book. He prayed when we do our family prayer before we go to bed. He's praying for the comic book. He's praying for the podcast, and he's praying for our family, because now he sees all my creative efforts in our future, and he gets it now. And my son, he's also very supportive too. You know, he does see mommy doing the interviews and doing this, but he's a little bit older now. He's in 6th grade, so he's doing his Robux on the computer. Not Robux, what you call it, Roblox and Nintendo, all that stuff. He's happy mama is engaged with something else, so she won't come in the room and bother him, you know. So in the beginning it was hard, but now I do have 2 very supportive people who are my cheerleaders. My parents, you know, they're very supportive. My mother had her glasses and she was like, I want to read Queen of Myrtle. I said, who, mama? Queen of Myrtle. And, you know, she talked about Luna. Queen of Mahru. So, yeah, I gave her the issue 2 and she put her glasses on and she was reading it. And then I came back the next day, I said, you liked it, mama? She said, yeah, I loved it. And you put us in there. So one of the characters' mothers is named after my mom. So they see, and my dad always asks, how's the comic book coming along? You know, I said, Dad, is the issue 2 is out now. I'm gonna bring it over. So I gave it to him, you know. So in the beginning, in my family, my extended family, my cousins, all of them are so supportive. My aunts, every time I post something on Facebook, oh, my lovely niece, my beautiful niece. So I, you know, in the beginning, you know, people don't understand it, but when they actually, I think it helps when they see something tangible a lot of times, and then they see that people are receiving it well. So they see, now they understand it and they see it. So I'm actually very grateful. I have a lot of support now, especially from my 2 favorite people here in the house.
Nice. Yeah, nah, I couldn't do any of this without my wife. Right. Like, and so I'm grateful that I've always had her buy-in. Because I don't know, for a long time, a very long time, there's not a dollar that comes through, right? Like, or maybe, you know, YouTube gives you some ad revenue or whatever. So we did get to a point where it was like, all right, cool. Well, at least YouTube is paying for the comics. But it wasn't paying no bills, right? Like maybe if I stopped buying comics, I could pay the light bill with it. Right. But now it's like, okay, it's at the least it's sustaining itself. And so, you know, Marvel sent a box of comics a month ago. It's like, that was crazy, right? Like, and so now it's like, okay, there are these touch points that everyone can see, and they're like, oh, okay, so you are doing a real thing. You're not just like being weird with a camera, right? So it works out. There's definitely
I saw that video. That was really cool. That was really cool.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I'm grateful. I'm grateful, like, because it's a lot of work. But it feels good to have like those different hits of external validation, right? Like eventually, I mean, ultimately you're not doing it for whatever that thing is, right? But I think we're all doing it to a certain degree for some kind of a reward, right? Like we want to be creatively fulfilled, but we got to pay bills too, right? Like I want to take my kids to Disney World. I want to do all kinds of stuff. And like it would be that much sweeter to do that from talking about comic books. Because sure, I could just pick up a couple extra shifts, but where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's good for, here comes the nurse in me, but it's also good for our mental health.
Yes.
You know, we could talk all day about how our ancestors were suppressed and repressed in every single way, stripped of their identity. But now we have a unique opportunity now. We have a lot that we can utilize to express what's inside of us, you know. So some of us go to YouTube, or, we'll create videos. Some of us might create, on Instagram. Some of us may write, some of us may paint. So all that stuff, all of that is beneficial for your mental health, but also in that, and then of course, then it extends into your physical health. So writing and then talking about comics and it like you said, if I'm good, I can show up for my family and I can be happier, so it's a form of self-care and just taking care of yourself when you allow when you incorporate the arts into your everyday.
Yeah, for sure. And so for me, it's just about I want I got a high schooler now, right? And what I want for her is like when people say like you can do anything you put your mind to, like I want it to be like for real, right? Like, and so and I mean with all these with social media and all that, like there's a lot of different ways to make a dollar, right? And so I don't want you like living your life a slave to money, right? Like be true to yourself, right? You can make money doing anything. You could be happy working at a car wash if that gave you the time to, go after all your other pursuits. So
Mhm.
cool, right? So I don't want you, oh, I got to make $100,000 every year because I got to do it things this way, right? Like I want you to be fulfilled. I want you to be grounded. I want you to be, a good Christian. Like these are the things that I want you to be, right? And it's got nothing to do with whether or not you're a doctor, a lawyer, or insert profession here, because I don't care about any of that. Like you're my kid, and I love you because you're you. So
Mhm. That's beautiful. Yep. Yep. I agree 100%. Yeah.
awesome. Well, I think that's probably a good note for us to leave this conversation on. And so I want to thank you for just stopping by, for sharing your wisdom, sharing your experience, for those who are listening. Um, but for those who want to keep up with you even after this conversation's over, how can they do that?
You can find me on Instagram at Moon the Storyteller. And that's on Instagram and TikTok. And then, of course, the links that's there in my profile, my bio, you can go to Luna, buy Luna. You can check out the podcast, and you can also follow my journey as a new professional paid voice actor.
Nice. Nice. Well, yeah, I will leave all of Karla's links and information in the description down below. So check that out. Check out the show notes. Huge thanks to Karla for her time. And I don't know what you're doing after you read or listen to this episode. Hopefully, you're going out and you're buying Luna issues 1 and 2 available now. But after that, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.
Comics are dope.